All right, so I'm going to move on to the fuselage now. So I decided, I was looking at some of my colors. I'm actually kind of running out. I kind of misjudged a little bit of my olive drab, and I don't want to go buy another whole roll of olive drab. So I'm going to change up the paint, the color scheme a little bit. I'm going to put a black along the bottom. I was going to use a different color, like a white or something, but I'm just going to go ahead and put a black along the bottom. I'm going to use this black that I have. And then, I'm going to use the olive drab again, and then I'll put my orange highlights and maybe a white, kind of like a white stripe back here. So we'll see. And then of course, then I'm going to make my the hatch. Actually, I'm going to make this black also, and so that's how it's going to look. Okay, and so like the fuselage, like the wing, we're going to work from the bottom up. So what you want to do is you put the bottom on, and then go to the sides, and then do the top. And so the idea is every time you do this, so you put the bottom down, and then you put the side on, you kind of wrap over the bottom a little bit. You get to the top, you wrap over the side, and sort of like shingles. If you're going to think about it as kind of putting shingles on a roof, you start from the bottom, work your way up. All right then. Well, so I got all of the I'm done with all the olive drab, which is like my main color. And sort of here's the fuselage. Ooh, I got to do this part right here. But here's the fuselage is finished. This is going to be orange, so I'm going to weight off on that. The elevator stabilizer, the horizontal stabilizer, and then the rudder or the vertical stabilizer are finished. And I'm going to be, and you saw the wing before. So I'm going to now add the highlight colors, which is going to be the oranges. But that's going to be the next step. One thing I wanted to mention, if I have it, is right here. This little guy right here. So this is a crescent, sort of like a little, it's almost like a little, it's not really a wire cutter. I guess for electronics it could be, but it's got these nice little shears. And what's really nice is you can take something like this, scissors would work also. But this is going to be really good for sort of snipping around and getting in the fine places because it's very sharp. And it's in the Monokote will just sort of like cut, it'll snap it nicely. So I recommend getting something like that. So I'm ready to move on to my orange colors. And I'm going to start with the fuselage. I'm going to finish up the fuselage. Take my hatch off of here. And then I'll move on to my ailerons, and then my elevator and my rudder. And the ailerons, I'm not sure if I'm going to do all of it in orange, because I am going to have an orange stripe on top of the wing, like I mentioned before. So I may just go like half or something like that. We'll see. I have to think about it still. So let me put these aside, get them out of the way. And what I decided to do, so this is all going to be orange here on the front, and I wanted to have an angle on here just to give it a little bit of pizzazz. So the way I'm going to kind of keep it even on both sides is that what I do is I just kind of find, where's my ruler? Here's my ruler. I just find sort of arbitrary points that I can measure off of, that I can do on both sides so I can keep things even. So for example, for the upper part, and I'm using this blue tape to keep it lined, to help me keep it aligned. So for the upper part, what I did is I just measured an inch down from this little point here, just to where just until it crosses this lower part of the fuselage. It's just arbitrary. There's nothing about it that's fancy. I just said, okay, I'll go an inch here. So I measured an inch there, and I marked that. And then I measured 3 inches again on the front from the firewall back, 3 inches to here, and that kind of gave me an angle. That's kind of what I did with the olive drab here. But I'm just marking it back with the so when I put the orange on, I kind of follow that same angle. But there's nothing special about it. I was just arbitrary. I wanted to put an angle on this, and that way, once I measure from these known points, I could do the same thing on this side, which I did, 1 inch and 3 inches. You know, I could have made it an inch and an inch, maybe an inch from here if you want to do it that way, or whatever you want to do. As long as you do the same and you can do it on both sides, and that'll help you keep the same pattern straight. So then what I'm going to do, obviously, is I got this blue tape on here, and the blue tape is going to be what guides me when I actually put the Monokote on. So I've cut my orange Monokote, and I don't know how it goes, but I'll just put it like this for now. And all I'm going to do is basically I'm going to line it up, and I'm just going to hold it like this, like that. And then I'll apply it, and then I'll trim it, and then when I take off the blue tape, it'll have this angle, obviously, and then I'll have the same one on this side. Oops. Oh, there you go. So that's sort of a nice method to kind of do this. Same thing if you want to do kind of patterns on wings and things like that. Just use arbitrary points. You know, if I wanted to put something back here, for example, like a diamond shape or something, I could say, okay, I'll go back to some arbitrary line back here, and I'll just maybe measure off of these corners back here to give me the shape I want, you know, and I'll go to the center. So for example, let's say I want to go 2 inches. Say it's 2 inches right here, so an inch in would be right here, for example, and then I could just go from this corner to that corner. So that's just kind of little ways to help you kind of keep things straight when you're applying sort of these different patterns and things on your planes. So all right, I'm going to get started. I'm going to put the orange on the front here. All right, so one thing I wanted to show about kind of going around a corner is the way I do it, is I take my scissors and I cut like, you know, basically like a, I guess a 45-degree angle to the corner, and I give myself about 1/8 of an inch or so, maybe 1/4 inch, maybe that's too much, but about 1/8 of an inch, and I just snip this off like this. Oops, like that. And I go around my corners, and I just go ahead and do that around here. That, so on. And then I take my X-Acto blade, right? And I go from the corner of the wood. I just kind of hold it and I cut a little release, sort of like a little release cut right there on the corner, like that. All the way around. This works for any kind of corner or sharp edge. And then, because I have that little cut in there, I can fold this over, and then sort of like wrapping a Christmas present or something, I can go around and kind of fold them over on top of each other. So what I'll do is I'm going to trim these down a little bit further so that I can just kind of, but I am going to kind of bring them over the edge, and then I can just work on the edges. But that sort of gives you a little bit of room to work. See if you do that, and kind of ends up doing something like that. So it kind of comes together. So I'm just eyeballing it, and sometimes it's not perfect. That's okay. I just trim it as I go, but that's sort of the idea. All right, so you can see that I finished the front part of the fuselage here, and I'll still go around and I'll touch it up. Like right here, I got to touch this up. And of course, this is going to be hinged when I install this hatch, so it's going to obviously fit in here better. But with the magnet, it holds really nicely, and you can kind of see the bottom, and then the front and the side, and then dowel's going to go in here. And I probably will I may do some kind of a stripe back in the back portion, but for right now the fuselage is kind of finished up. Put that aside, and I'll probably work on, I'll just do the rudder real quick. So I got the rudder finished for the most part, and I did want to show sort of our idea about having the wire and my little control rod tubing in here. So this is going to slide in like this, right? See how that works? Now obviously this is going to go like this. It's going to bend down and it's going to connect to the tail gear, but that's how it's going to operate. That's how the wire is going to work. It's going to sort of wag as the rudder moves, it's going to move the tail wheel wire with it because this goes down. So I just wanted to show you that little trick, I guess, or that little method. So this is done. So I'm going to go ahead now. I'm going to finish the ailerons and then the elevator, and I'm going to get that done real quick. I don't think I'm going to do that off camera because I think everybody's probably seen enough of this monocote to make them happy. So I'm going to move on with those other things, and then we'll come back and talk about our next step. All right, my friends. Well, I'm happy to report that I am finished doing the monocote. And as I mentioned, I did a lot of this off camera because I think I had too much footage anyhow. But so here's the finished elevator. I'll just show you my part. So here's the finished elevator with the orange markings on it. Here is the finished rudder, like this, with the orange markings on it. Looks good there. Of course, the plane is finished. I went all the way around, and I got the fuselage is finished for that part there. And then now for the wing. So the wing is showing, well, the wing, what I'm showing you here is that the wing has this big orange stripe on it. And again, this was trying to sort of as inspiration, or as sort of to follow this sort of like bird dog pattern, and also the sort of the pattern that's up on the cover page here, as I mentioned in that previous video a while back about kind of why I'm using this color scheme. And then also I did these ailerons, and I did the ailerons, so there's white on the inside of them like this, so they're going to be on here like that. If you can see that, how that's going to work. But then the bottom doesn't have any orange. So there's no orange on the bottoms at all. So again, when I'm flying the plane, I see orange on the wing. I know I'm looking at the top of the wing. All right, so I did want to mention, since I didn't show it on video, is that in order to put this stripe on correctly, or straightly, what I did is I cut my monocote using a long straight edge to get myself a uniform piece. I have two pieces. I have a piece on one wing and a piece on the other. I just used the one of the spars to help line it up, and I just got it all to match nicely, and then I tacked it down with just my blue painter's tape. I just put a bunch of tack pieces down here and there, and then I slowly went around and I just kind of tapped it with the iron, because you don't want to hit it hard, because if you do that, the whole thing will shrink. And the problem I had, or had to watch for, is that as I shrunk it up, that it didn't sort of like narrow in places. So I went around very, very gently and just tapped all the way around the whole perimeter of the orange. And then I slowly got it all on the edge. And once I got the edge established, I was pretty happy that I was pretty good. And then I would move to start doing the center. But again, if you overheat, even if you do the edges like that, if you tack around the edges, even if you overheat the middle of it, it'll shrink in and you'll get like a, it won't be straight. Don't hit it hard when you're adding something like a stripe onto a surface, because if you do that, that stripe will end up looking like an S or something. So that's that. So just keep that in mind. My next step, I'm going to continue on with the covering, is I'm going to add these sort of vintage roundels, whatever, to the wing, and maybe one to the fuselage, and maybe do a couple little touch-up things for the covering, and then move on to the hinging. So that'll be the next steps coming up. But this is it for now. I'm going to get out of this garage. It's really hot in here. It's July in the afternoon, and it's baking in here. So I'm gonna get out of here and come back to this later. All right. So thanks for watching my channel, and please subscribe, and we'll see you next time. Thanks.